purpose of this video is to show you how I clean my shallot crop. I'm at the stage right now where they've been dried. I brought them in and spread them all out into trays like this and let them dry out. And they've probably been drying for over 2 weeks, most of them. And when they have long scapes on them like this, I usually let them leave the scapes on for a while. Let them dry partially with the scapes on them. Like some of these, they didn't really have scapes; they just had leaves, which dry out pretty quickly. This process takes me about I do about 12 bulbs a minute, which takes quite a bit of time. My crop is over 5,400 bulbs this year, so that will take me, just to do this process I'm going through right now, it should take me about 7.5 hours, which is a lot of time. When you add that to the time required to plant them, to harvest them, bring them into dry, spread them on the trays. Now this step, and then a step after this, which will be, I have to go through all the ones that I've cleaned this way and do a final cleaning, and then I also size them and put them into trays by the different sizes. Now I'll show you really how I go about this process of cleaning them. These, again, they're pretty dry, and one way I can tell if they're dry is if the skins do come off pretty easy. Now what I do is I got my handy scissors here. I cut them off usually about there, and then I usually trim the root section a little bit also. And then I give them a little squeeze, and usually the outside skin comes off, which makes them look sort of clean. And then they're getting this nice bronzy color that these shallots have. So I take them, if they have a long scape like on them, I usually just chop those down. I usually leave it a little longer if they have a scape on them. Then I trim the bottom. Again, I squeeze them, and you can see that skin is coming off, that paper-like skin, and it's a nice clean looking bulb. So I'll do another one. Here's one where the two are joined together. Now this is the way they get when I harvest them. Quite often they're in clumps with as many as 14 from one bulb. This one happens to have two connected together, so all I do is break that apart. I cut it off, top and bottom, give it a little squeeze, scrape the dirt off a little bit, and see again, it comes out pretty clean. Be ready for the next cleaning process when I'm doing the sorting. Here's another one that's got two connected together. It's got a pretty long scape on it, so trim that off, leave that a little bit longer, trim off the root section, squeeze it again, the skin comes off. You can see there's the skin that came off, and that has all the dirt on it and everything. And the bulb's pretty nice and clean. That one came out quite cleanly. If they're not dried enough, sometimes that skin does not come off readily, and that's why in the second stage where I'm doing the sorting, I do final cleaning on the ones that didn't come 100% clean. So they're looking pretty good. But you can see this is definitely a slow process. I think what I'll do now, I'll get the camera and I'll show you some of the crop that I have now. You can see here's all those shallots that I've harvested. It's a nice tray of them. They're the ones that are dry, and there's just the scraps that I've peeled off. Now incidentally, the stuff that I take off the shallots, this stuff here, all these scraps and everything, I don't waste that. That goes into the food that I feed my worms. Now here's some more over here. There's some more shallots that I have There are two big trays of them here. You can see they're nice. Some of them are nice size. This year, the crop did not produce as many big bulbs as it has in the past. I don't know whether it was a tough winter or that my soil's getting a little tired or exactly what's causing that, but I had a very good crop as far as numbers are concerned. Now, the reason I put the towel on it, in the past, my two cats like to wander around everything in my barn here, and one time they decided that the shallots were a nice spot to use as a litter box, so I just keep them covered up just to discourage the cats from getting involved. Now I'll show you a few more I have over here. Here are all some of my worm boxes, and you see I have lots of worm boxes down here, and that's what I use for fertilizer for these shallots when I plant them. Put a little light on here. Now you can see here's a lot of the shallots that I have not cleaned yet. They're in the drying process. Now these were some nice purple shallots that a friend gave me that are quite big. I'd never grown these before. I prefer the yellow shallots because they stay harder and they hold over much longer. This type of shallot, you can hold them for just so long, and they have a tendency of rotting and getting bad much quicker than the yellow shallots that I sell. We go over here, you can see there's a whole bucket full of this scraps that I cut off. And here's another tray that I've been working on. It's got quite a few shallots in it. Well, that's about it. That's my operation. You can see it's a slow process. When I can only do about 12 of these a minute, it takes an awful lot of time to do all the cleaning process. Now, just to show you, here's some of my worms here that I feed these scraps to. And you can see in the corner, this right here, this stuff right here, this is some of the stuff that I cut off of the shallots. And probably in a couple of weeks, the worms will have devoured that completely. They do a good job of eating everything. You can see this one little cluster of worms right here, right where my finger is. That was a piece of watermelon, and they do love watermelon. They will cluster around that and eat that in no time at all. And they love the avocados. You can see I got an avocado pit in there, corn cob. They eat them all. As long as it's organic, they will eat it. And that's the way I get rid of a lot of this extra stuff that I have when I trim the shallots. I guess that's about it. That's my crop. If you're interested in purchasing any shallots from me this year, please do it early because I usually sell out very quickly. Visit my website at www.woofish.com and click the button on there for shallots, and you will find my page and tell you all about the shallots I have for sale. Thank you for viewing the video.